All right, imagine a military commander whose biography it reads like the ultimate historical composite sketch of the 19th century.
It really does. I mean, it sounds like a character designed in a lab, to summarize that entire age.
Exactly. He was an officer born into the Austrian Empire, becomes a general fighting against that empire in Hungary, gets sentenced to death.
Flees, ends up in Italy commanding troops with Garibaldi.
And then, the complete pivot. He ends up in South America, founding the premier military college of Argentina.
It genuinely sounds like a myth, but this is the absolutely true and frankly extraordinary life of János Czecz, or Hovhannes Tsetzian.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is a deep dive into the source material that traces this incredible sort of three-part life.
Right. You have his elite training and his Armenian heritage.
And his time as a revolutionary general and a European exile.
And then his final, and I'd argue most lasting, career as an engineer and an educational architect across the Atlantic.
And the core tension we need to explore here is, well, it's profound. This is a man whose early life was completely defined by fighting against empires, against established orders. Yet his greatest legacy, the thing that endures, it wasn't forged in battle.
No, it was in the pragmatic, difficult work of building the core professional institutions, the infrastructure of a young republic.
So we're going to give you, the listener, a shortcut to understanding the depth of Czetz's impact. You'll see exactly why the experience he gained in Europe, this very high-stakes, specialized experience, was precisely the toolkit young Argentina needed to modernize.
It's a remarkable study in the export of elite knowledge forged in the fires of conflict.
It certainly is. So where do we begin? The forge itself.
Let's start there. His background. Czecz was born Hovhannes Tsetzian in 1822 in Transylvania.
Which was then part of the vast and very complicated Austrian Empire.
Right. And the family history is crucial to understanding him. He was born into an Armenian immigrant family, long established in the region.
And his father was an officer, right? A hussar.
Yes, a hussar in the Austrian Imperial Army. So you've got this military tradition and a very distinct cultural identity from birth.
That background, I mean, growing up in a multi-ethnic, militarized environment.
Yeah.
It must have shaped him completely.
Absolutely. His identity, though, it remained really rooted. I mean, decades after leaving Europe for good, Czecz wrote to his descendants a clear mandate, a family directive that, well, it speaks volumes.
What did he say?
He said, while my descendants are alive, they must respect and preserve Armenian books as a family shrine.
Wow. That is a powerful statement. A commitment that transcended all these shifting national allegiances of the 19th century.
It really is. So after his father's death, Czecz continued on that military path. And this is what set him up for an education that, frankly, very few outside the imperial elite ever received.
He was enrolled in the military academy in Wiener Neustadt.
Yeah.
And we can't overstate the prestige of this school.
No, absolutely not. It was, without question, one of the premier military institutions in Europe.
And this wasn't just about marching and shooting.
Not at all. This was an intensive curriculum. We're talking advanced mathematics, applied sciences, engineering, logistics, and crucially for his future, cartography and geodesy.
It sounds almost like an early version of a modern polytechnic university.
But with swords, yes, exactly. It was designed to create officers capable of maintaining and expanding a continental empire.
So understanding roads, bridges, supply lines. Mapping complex terrain.
And Czecz just absorbed all of it.
And he showed flashes of brilliance early on. While he was still a student, he published his first work.
Military Grammar of the Hungarian Language, which is fascinating.
It was designed for German-speaking officers operating inside the Austro-Hungarian structure, right?
Yeah, so he was already a vital bridge. He was synthesizing communication and military utility. His career in the Imperial Army was fast-tracked.
He was clearly on a trajectory toward high rank within the Habsburg establishment.
But the political map of Europe was about to explode.
Right. His path was set, but then comes 1848, the Spring of Nations.
Revolutions just igniting everywhere. And nowhere was the turmoil more profound than in that multi-ethnic Habsburg Empire. Hungarians, Czechs, Italians, all demanding national rights.
And the Hungarian independence movement, led by Lajos Kossuth, that was the most serious threat to the Austrian crown.
It was. And Czecz, an officer trained to defend the empire, he faced that pivotal choice.
And he chose freedom. He chose national loyalty over imperial loyalty. He abandoned his commission and joined the Hungarian cause.
And the sources highlight something fascinating here. the outsized role of Armenians in the Hungarian War of Independence.
Right. This community showed incredible dedication to the cause.
Hundreds served, including high-ranking figures like Generals Erno Kiss and Vilmos Lazar, two of the men later executed as part of the famous 13 Martyrs of Arad.
So Czecz was part of this highly distinguished, devoted group.
He was, and his elite education made him indispensable. His strategic talent was recognized immediately, and he advanced at just blistering speed.
He became the chief of staff of the Transylvanian army.
And achieved the rank of general by the age of 26.
26? I mean, to reach that rank at that age, in a real war, that's almost unheard of.
It confirms the exceptional quality of his training and his judgment.
He was thrown into Transylvania, which was a tough front, often under imperial...
A really tough front. He was often under imperial control there.
Yet he pulled off some truly massive logistical and tactical feats. He secured the victory at Sibiu, despite being seriously outnumbered.
And if you look at the greatest tactical success of that whole campaign, it was Czetz's command that forced the retreat of the Russian Tsarist troops near Brasov.
And this is vital context, isn't it? He wasn't just fighting the Austrians.
No, he was fighting the combined might of two of the largest empires in the world. They had joined forces specifically to crush this rebellion.
So to win key engagements against that kind of overwhelming force, that proved his genius.
It really did.
It's one thing to list his achievements, but how does someone who is chief of staff of a wartime army, constantly on the move, how does he find the time and mental energy to write the definitive historical text of the conflict?
That's the key to understanding Czetz's intellect. His writing of Bem's campaign in Transylvania wasn't some sideline project. It was a function of his training.
Okay, so it's part of the job.
A chief of staff, especially then, had to be meticulous. They wrote detailed after-action reports, they analyzed logistics, charted every single movement. Czecz simply applied that deep institutional rigor to crafting a full, reliable primary history.
Which is why historians still rely on it.
Exactly.
But that blend of tactical genius and intellectual rigor, it didn't save the revolution.
No, unfortunately not. The combined empires were just too strong. Czecz was sentenced to death in absentia and he had to flee. He went underground, moving through Germany, England.
And finally settling in Paris by 1851.
Right, where he became part of this large Hungarian exile committee dedicated to reviving the revolutionary struggle. But here's the crucial narrative shift.
The romantic ideals of 48 colliding with the cold pragmatism of 1850s European realpolitik.
Precisely. The exiles had banked on support from Napoleon III in France.
But he pulled the rug out from under them.
He did. Napoleon III was concerned with diplomacy, not revolutionary dreams. He wasn't going to risk international relations with Austria and Russia for the Hungarian cause.
And this profound disillusionment in Paris was the trigger.
It was. Czecz realized that simply waiting around for a political opportunity wasn't going to work. He needed a new fight, a new purpose.
And that search led him south, right into the orbit of Giuseppe Garibaldi.
He immediately saw Garibaldi's cause for Italian unification as a direct continuation of the fight. It was the same struggle for self-determination against the common enemy, Austria.
So he dedicated himself to this new struggle.
He did. He organized and commanded a Hungarian legion within Garibaldi's army. He was a professional soldier who just refused to surrender his core liberal beliefs.
It's amazing. The sources note his survival skills during this turbulent exile period. Between active campaigns, he kept body and soul together by working as a translator and a language teacher.
A polyglot translator. He was fluent in Hungarian, German, French, Spanish, Italian, and Armenian.
That is a truly global citizen, ready for any environment.
And that linguistic dexterity, that ability to operate in any environment, is what made the next transition possible.
The shift from a revolutionary general to a nation-building architect.
It required absolute adaptability and a global network.
Okay, let's follow that path across the globe to what became the third and most lasting act of his life, the Argentine architect. The turning point, surprisingly, took place in Spain.
Yes. While he was in Seville in the late 1850s, he met and married Basilia Ortiz de Rosas. And this was an unbelievably influential connection.
Who was she?
She was the daughter of General Prudencio Ortiz de Rosas and the niece of Juan Manuel de Rosas.
The immensely powerful, though exiled, former governor and dictator of Argentina.
Exactly. That marriage gave Czecz instant access to Argentina's elite social and political circles, even with the Rosas regime having fallen.
So in 1860, Czecz arrives in Buenos Aires. He's 38 years old. ready to start a new chapter that emphasized structure over chaos.
Right. And he couldn't immediately assume a high military rank as a foreign exile, but he was able to validate his existing European qualifications.
He confirmed his title as an agrimensor, a specialized surveyor and geodesist.
And this technical background, you have to remember, this was a core component of his high-level Austrian military education.
And this is where we need to draw that line straight back to Wiener Neustadt. Argentina in the 1860s was desperate for specialized European expertise.
And Czecz offered exactly what they needed, absolutely.
Think about what a military surveyor does.
Defines defensible borders, plots logistical routes, manages topography, creates accurate, precise maps for command and control.
Czecz immediately applied this training to civilian life. His first major contribution was fundamentally defining Argentina's physical space.
He created the official, modern, scientifically accurate border map with both Paraguay and Brazil.
And why was that so vital?
Because before Czecz, the sources show that the previous maps were wildly approximate. They were unreliable. In the 19th century, land was wealth, and borders were the basis of legal sovereignty.
So his work was the foundation for modern Argentine cartography and topography.
It made their claims scientifically defensible. It enabled modern governance. He wasn't just drawing lines. He was providing the foundational, legal, spatial definition for the entire country.
And his work quickly expanded far beyond maps and borders. By 1866, he was physically shaping the country.
That's right. We see him designing and marking out the thriving city of Rojas, which, still operates on his grid today.
Then came the major infrastructure projects.
He planned the crucial railway line connecting Santa Fe to Colonia Esperanza, a vital artery for agricultural trade.
And he was responsible for the road along the Dulce River, connecting Santa Fe all the way up to Santiago del Estero. These projects were massive logistical challenges in the 1860s.
Huge challenges. Remote locations, difficult terrain, limited technology.
How did his military background specifically help him transition into this kind of civil engineering?
The military component was essential. A general, especially a chief of staff, is a master of logistics, of resource allocation and project management under pressure.
Okay, that makes sense.
His experience planning troop movements, supply chains, constructing temporary fortifications, it translated directly into civil engineering challenges, laying thousands of miles of track and road, managing labor, overcoming obstacles.
So it was the painstaking, precise work of a civil engineer, but executed with the project efficiency of a wartime general.
You've got it. And that brings us to his ultimate legacy, the synthesis of all of it, his combat experience and his professional rigor.
Founding the National Military College.
In 1870, President Sarmiento, a huge proponent of modern education, selected Czecz for a monumental task, establishing the country's first professional military training institution, the Colegio Militar de la Nación.
Why Czecz, though? Why choose a European exile and a former revolutionary general to structure Argentina's loyal professional army?
Because he was a living embodiment of the best military science available. Sarmiento needed an institution that could move the Argentine army beyond local militias and caudillo loyalties.
Into a modern, professional, scientifically educated fighting force.
And Czecz had the Wiener Neustadt training, the real-world command experience across 3 continents, and the intellectual capacity to write definitive military texts. I mean, who else had that resume?
Nobody. He became the college's first director, and his work entirely transformed Argentine military training.
It did. The college became the most important contribution of Sarmiento's government to the army. It became one of the most advanced military schools outside of Europe.
And he didn't stop there.
No, he taught the next generation at the National College of Concepcion de Uruguay. He constantly updated the curriculum at the military college, making sure it adapted to contemporary requirements.
So he wasn't just teaching old drills.
No, he was teaching modern, applied military science. Even in retirement, the sources show he couldn't stop contributing. Late in life, he drafted a detailed mapping plan for the massive, complex Andes mountain range,
which was then implemented by later specialists. He was surveying the future until the very end.
He was. And amidst all this intense nation building in Latin America, what's equally remarkable is that he never abandoned his initial heritage.
Right. After nearly 40 years in Argentina, he was still actively contributing articles to the Armenian diaspora journal, Armenia.
And corresponding with intellectuals like Hungarian Tsetzian in 1898. He preserved his roots while planting an entirely new professional life.
János Czecz died in Buenos Aires in 1904. He was 82. He lived a life that crossed empires and continents. But his recognition is uniquely tripartite.
Exactly. In Hungary, he's recognized as a national hero, streets named after him, postal stamps for his generalship in 1848.
In Italy, he's remembered for his service to Garibaldi.
And here in Argentina, he is enshrined as a founder. There's a statue of him outside the National Military College, regular memorial ceremonies. He's the man who built their modern army.
He's the Armenian officer who became a Hungarian general, fought for Italy's freedom, and founded Argentina's modern professional army and much of its infrastructure.
So what does this all mean for us? Czecz was in exile. He was deemed a threat and sentenced to death by the great European powers.
Yeah.
Yet he found lasting meaning and identity not by winning the revolution he initially fought for, but by applying that highly specialized European expertise, his education in engineering, strategy, surveying, to the foundational work of a young, distant republic.
It raises an important question, one we want to leave you to mull over. When you're seeking revolution or profound change, is the greatest, most enduring legacy truly found on the thrilling battlefield? Or is it in the painstaking long-term work of building the solid, lasting institutions that govern the future?
Czecz proves that sometimes the true lasting work of a general begins when the fighting ends and the blueprints come out.